Hello, Student Economics Association. I hope everybody is having a super wonderful, awesome day today. If you don't know me, my name is Dr. Alicia Plemons. I'm from the Department of Economics and Finance, specifically on the econ side. I'm also the CAS Undergraduate Economics Program Director. So if you have any questions about any of the undergraduate programs in econ, I'm typically the person that you're going to email. I just wanted to take a little bit of time today to talk to you about what can you do with an econ degree. I realize that it's something that we don't talk nearly enough about with students, telling you about the different opportunities you have, the different things that you can do with your degrees. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what previous students have done and then the different pathways that you have forward. So I'll try to make it brief and not take up too much time today, but let's just go on through. So what are the jobs in econ and how do you get them? And the most important part to start off with is the fact that many times econ related jobs don't actually have the word economist in the title. They can sometimes be analyst or manager or supervisor, director, lots of analysts, to be honest, associates, brokers. So the idea is to keep your mind sort of broad when approaching these sorts of roles, because they might have different sorts of names than what you expected. This is just a word cloud made of some of the most commonly used titles for our previous students who have graduated and gone on and done really super cool jobs. So what does an economist do? I think that's the really simple part to start with, because economists answer questions about policy impacts, right? If a policy changes, how is that going to affect your company? How is that going to impact this Metro East area? How is it going to affect lots of different other things? We want to be able to fund this program. How do we raise the funds? We want to raise wages for our employees by a certain amount. How will it affect their willingness to work, or how much vacation time we need to give them? How will this affect housing prices in our neighborhoods? So it's thinking a lot about this cause and effect question. And that's a lot of what economists do at the end of the day. An important distinction is that we're not accountants. Accountants answer questions about bottom dollar amounts, right? What the bottom line is, money in, money out. Instead, we ask more of the what if questions. The what if we made this change? What if we started this project? So our graduates have gone many cool and super neat places. Some have gone over to government roles with the city of Edwardsville or the city of St. Louis, or even further away. We've had some students go to Florida and Nebraska. I think one or two in California, actually. We have people who take up roles as economists in many different companies, such as Texas Consulting Groups, First Federal Savings Bank, Newport Coffee House, lots of different sort of places like that. So one thing that I always like to talk about is what helps boost your projected salary. So these are things that we've noticed that if our students have when they go on the market, they tend to do a lot better, right? Or they tend to get into placements that they're a little bit more comfortable with for their first job. The first one is always economics job experience or internships. If you come in having some sort of internship or 2 years of just taking an internship course, it can help raise the market average for your wages by about $7,000. Now, many of these internships can be varied. I'm also the internship coordinator for the Department of Economics. So if you have an internship, you generally come to me, tell me what it is, and I can give you 3 credit hours at the 400 level in econ if it's an econ related internship. We can also help connect you with people in the area to talk about internships or roles that you might be able to provide for them. So internships is generally where you're going to be learning some of the day-to-day business life, right? Like, so looking at spreadsheets, trying to figure out how to do market reports, figuring out how to collect data. Having this sort of experience is so useful on the job market. Other things that the job market in economics really likes to see is writing papers or some sort of writing sample, something that shows that you can give information to others in a very concise, practical way that's informative, right? So it's something that you can read, that you're able to get the details about a policy change or impact. Some sort of familiarity with statistics and extra statistics class, always a great thing, or taking econometrics. So our 417 and 415 courses are really great, and they're skills that people love to see on the market. Within this, any ability to use statistical coding packages. Just so you know, we tend to have a SAS class over summer. So if you ever wanted to learn SAS and even get or go take the exam afterwards to get certified in SAS, which is one of the programming languages economists, especially in industry, use most often, we can totally help you out with that. Just let me know. Math classes, we also see that this is students who have had more math and statistics experience tend to do much better on the job market. That doesn't mean that other people do poorly. It's just that that tends to be the sweet spot where a lot of things happen. And then for international jobs, having really good communication skills, especially in multiple languages, is important. So what can you do with a bachelor in econ? And I'm talking both about the Bachelor of Business Administration specialization in econ and the CAS undergraduate econ degree, right? So either one of those, you have a few options. So the first one is that you go get a job. In a job, you can go to one of about 4 different categories, or you can go to grad school. Grad school is another option where we have lots of students go and they're pretty happy afterwards. So if you go to the job market, your jobs can either be in government, private sector, think tanks, or nonprofit. These are the main categories where we're seeing students place. That doesn't mean you have to place here, but it's where we see. Government by far is the biggest hirer of economists because there is economists at every single federal, state, and local agency, right? That's something that is highly needed by government. We have students and also people that I just know as economists who have ended up working at the Census or the Federal Reserve or the USDA or many other different government organizations. Also, every private sector firm, especially the larger ones, tend to always have an economist on staff or an entire team of economists. Think tanks are people who do research, advocacy, and lobbying around some sort of topic. So that's something that they're very passionate about, that they have a think tank dedicated to producing research on that topic. And then we also have nonprofits. These are typically ones devoted to a social cause or some sort of advocacy. They don't pay as well, but their impact is really trying to make the world a better place. If you wanted to go to grad school, we tend to see that bachelors in econs like to go in one of 3 pathways. Certainly, these are not the only ones, but there's lots of options for you. Many of our students end up going and getting either an MBA or a master's in economics. So we do have an MBA program here at SIUE. There's also many very good masters of econ programs in the area over at SLU, over at WashU, over at UMSL, where we have connections to lots of those programs. We also have connections with programs all across the United States and even some internationally, if that's something that you want to talk about. We also have a lot of students go to law school. It's actually strange. We send more students to law school than political science does. Now that's a nice little bragging point. Or you could go, if you're really devoted, you really love the academic life, you want the title doctor in front of your name, there's always the PhD route too. That one's the toughest one, but let's talk about it. First, let's talk about the job market piece. So places where you can get a job. I like to start these talks by really telling you where the jobs are for you to be able to find them, right? Because many of the people who are actually going to bother to sit down and watch this video, these are going to be the people who you're probably going on the market this year. You're really starting to think about a job. You're getting to the finish line. So economists with bachelor's degrees and no job experience typically make about G7, G8 pay. The federal government has a set pay scale. You can go look up what everybody makes. You can raise through it very quickly. But that's typically where you start. So there's lots of federal jobs, and federal jobs are some of the largest employers of entry-level economists. And at this, there's so many departments. There's agriculture, commerce, defense, education, energy, health and human services, housing and urban, labor, transportation, development, veteran affairs. All of these different groups have their own economists that work on very specific types of projects. So if you're interested in saving the environment, you might want to work with the USDA or forestry, or you might want to work with something in that sort of natural resource area. If you're really interested in health and you think it's just the coolest thing on earth, health and human services always has a place for you. So I'm going to send these slides to the SEA President McKinsey, who will be able to give these out to you. So we have the Office of Personnel Management and the USDA job sites. Each of these application links will take you to where they're located. Luckily for federal level jobs, they tend to be all on 1 or 2 different portals. So once you set up an account, you're able to apply for multiple ones. There's also the Federal Reserve Board. These are ones who do a lot of research in managing data, macroeconomic policy, figuring out what we're going to do with interest rates. This is really important to some of y'all because we have the St. Louis Fed right down the road that also takes a lot of interns from SIUE. But this is a really great place, especially to start a career. They have 2 different tracks. So they're going to be ones working on research-related policy paired with PhDs, or there's going to be ones working with community initiatives, looking at how policy affects the local community, figuring out how to help people. There's some really cool jobs there. Most of these are going to be listed on the Federal Reserve job posting boards. We also have the U.S. Department of State, the CIA. We've had some students go to the CIA that have been super happy. We've had some go to the FBI that have been super happy. And then also please remember that every state and local government also has economists. So many of the students who take the my brain just went off. The local and state public econ course, that's one of my courses, Econ 445. Many of the students who have gone through that route worked with the city of East St. Louis, and now some of them are placing with the city of St. Louis or Edwardsville or a few other places for jobs moving forward, which is kind of neat. So especially if you're wanting to go to a particular area, this might be a great place to think about for you. Now, one of the other options that you have is private sector. So private sector pays the highest, right? Government doesn't pay as much, but they're by far the largest employer and have a lot of job stability. Private sector, these are the highest paying employers of economists. Most large firms, actually probably every large firm, has some sort of economist on staff, right? Economists in private sector jobs have very varied responsibilities. In government, you know what your job's going to be at the end of the day. In private sector, it might change a little bit. You might analyze tax codes. You might figure out how much money needs to be spent on a charitable contribution. You might do cost benefit analysis. You might do real estate markets. And most of these jobs will be posted on individual firm websites. After that, we have think tanks. So these are ones where these are policy and research institutes. So it's kind of like a university that doesn't teach a lot of the time, but it's a policy group that tends to have lawyers, economists, researchers, data scientists, and they focus on researching on a particular topic. So I know we have like one student who I think went to go work on quality immunity stuff. We had other students who went to go work on tax changes and tax environments. Some that have gone to work on other types of advocacy that they want to. I put a link right here for the list of think tanks. Look through them, see if there's something that might be interested to you. Two that I think are really neat, for example, is Tax Foundation. So Tax Foundation is just learning about the local and state tax environment in every single state and talking about like, hey, we kind of see that this works and we kind of see that this doesn't work. And then we're going to have a bunch of maps and resources and data available so people can look for themselves. Things like that, super cool. And then finally, there's nonprofits. So these are employers who are devoted to furthering a particular social cause. There is a social cause that they care about. Some have thousands and thousands and thousands of employees. Some are 3 to 4 people. So nonprofits have very varied sizes. So in larger nonprofits, economists tend to be research and data focused. You look at what impact will be of whatever you are doing. In smaller nonprofits, economists might have to wear many hats. You might also be the financing and the advertising and the social outreach person along with your econ roles. So that's very important to remember. Now, one thing about nonprofits that's different from all the other pieces is that they hire in between October and January. So there are very few positions open up outside of those months. So if nonprofit is the world you want to go to, you need to focus on getting in your applications during that window. I also leave some things here about like the World Bank, the IMF, United Way, which all takes economics students, and they might be something worth looking at. Now, there are some SIUE specific resources that you need to keep in your mind. We have the Career Development Center who can help you build a portfolio. We have Cougar Jobline to help connect you to employers, and we have frequent career fairs. We also have the Kimmel Student Involvement Center where there's lots of different organizations such as the SEA, thank you for already showing up, and events where you can talk to people one-on-one and ask questions. Now, also remember to talk to your professors. All of us regularly have different companies who'll email us and say, do you have a student who can do X? We're looking for people to work on this real estate initiative. Would you happen to have a student who's graduating soon? All of us know these connections or get these emails, and it'd be really great if we knew what you were looking for and what you were interested in so that we can connect you to these groups. We also, your professors, we're all working on research projects. If you want research experience, come talk to us. Many of us are always willing to have an extra set of hands. All right, so let me talk a little bit about how COVID may affect your job search, and then I want to talk a little bit about grad school programs. I know that this is getting long. I'm going to try not to take too much more of your time, but let's try to work through it because this is very important information for you. So COVID-19 has changed the game, right? It used to be that you would go to a job fair, you would talk to a bunch of people because there'd be tens of thousands of people in little tiny rooms, and you'd go talk to people and you'd fill out things and they would give you some swag, and then you would get a phone call later and then you'd go to that job. Or you might go and meet lots of people in person or even deliver resumes in person at times. Over the past, I guess, 2 years, that shouldn't say 7 months, it should say 2 years, we've seen reduced hiring and then frantic hiring and then large and small firms moving to remote work. Many econ jobs, this is very important to remember, are shifting permanently. So you don't actually have to have a physical presence unless you want one. Many of my friends, especially ones who've gone to government, have found out that they have the option to work not only 1 or 2 years online, but as many years as they want. This is a different type of freedom that you need to think about what your preference of work is. Are you a person who wants to work at a desk? Are you a person who wants to travel, but you're responsible enough to make sure that you get your work done every day during that process? That's something that you kind of need to think about. The hiring process is quickly moving online. It's not going in for interviews anymore. Pretty much any job you apply for, the first round interview will be by phone or Zoom or Teams or some sort of online database. But this also means that the cost of networking has never been lower. It is so easy now to reach out to someone and say, hey, I really like your career. I think that you are inspiring. I see you as a mentor. Would you be willing to jump on Zoom with me and we can have coffee and just kind of pick your brain about a few things? The cost of networking or making those connections have never been lower. So please keep in mind that people want to talk to you. It's just sometimes making the first reach, right? So why do we need to give both a resume and put in our information on things? So this is something that I've noticed annoys students that I just kind of wanted to point out. They're like, I'm giving you my resume. Why do I also have to type everything in? It's for HR and it's also for filter words. So if you type everything in, HR can quickly see it and that they can match to potential jobs based upon what filter words you have in your application. And then whoever does the actual hiring will be getting the stack of resumes that are left over after HR does the filtering. So it's good to have your information in both. PDFs are a format that everybody can open. Be wary of sending someone a Word document. Save it as a PDF and then send it to somebody. That's kind of just best practices that I can tell you. And there's a lot with the online interview, right? Practice. Get a Zoom account, get a Teams account, Discord account. No one uses Skype anymore except for old people. Well, okay, old people don't always use Skype. But not many people use Skype anymore, right? Wear pants, have good lighting, update your LinkedIn, have a stable internet connection. If you ever have a job interview and you do not have a quiet place or stable internet, let us know. We have a conference room in the econ department. We have a cubicle area we can sit you in. We have multiple quiet spots in the department that you can do an interview in if you need to. Also, we have the library, and in the library, there's private rooms that you are also welcome to use. There's no... If you don't feel comfortable with your internet, with your ability to have a successful interview in a quiet place, let us know. We're here to help you out, right? You going and furthering your life, that's part of the econ professor's job, right? Like, we enjoy seeing you succeed. So just let us know. All right, let's say that you don't want to go straight to the job market. You say, I love school so much over all these years that I want to do it even more. Let's talk about your grad school options. So the first one's a master's degree. So I do caution yourself to ask yourself why you want the master's degree, right? Consider what you're going to learn. Do you want an MBA because you want to be able to have a signal for certain types of businesses? Do you want a master's in econ because you really want to further your econometrics so that you can get a very good analyst job? Do you want a master's in policy so that you can work with policy groups working specifically with government? You need to ask yourself what the why is to figure out which degree might be best for you. Do your research on any of these programs, right? And it's totally okay to email their program coordinator for the master's degree to ask these questions. That's their job. Do they have a work study program? Tuition's expensive for a master's degree. Is it something where there might be, you can spend a couple hours working for the department, helping them out with research or grading papers, and that pays for your tuition? That might be something that exists. So look for work study programs or graduate research assistantships. Can you tutor for academic credit? If you're working, will they have night and weekend classes? So if you're wanting to keep your full-time job while doing a master's degree, is it something where you have to be in person during the day, or can you do it online or on the weekend? All master's degree programs are in between 36 and 54 hours. They're typically going to take you 1 to 2 years to complete. 1 year if you want to go real fast and you're able to be a full-time student. 2 years if you have to take it more on a part-time basis. And there may be a thesis option or not. The thesis option is a long paper that you're going to turn in at the end of your time where you worked on research, typically led by a professor, but it's your own independent research. So you may have a thesis, you may not have a thesis. So consider those sorts of things when thinking about master's degree programs, is asking yourself why. If you are confused or you don't know what questions to ask, again, reach out to any of us. We would love to talk to you about it. Every single person in the econ department, all of us had to go through higher level education. We can tell you about it, what works, what doesn't, and what connections we have. If you're thinking about law school, so for master's programs, you may or may not take a GRE or even the GMAT, but the GMAT's really not worth it. Take the GRE if you're going to go into econ, and notice that you mostly need to care about your quant score. They don't care about your verbal. They don't really care about anything else. Your quant score is what's going to matter. Law school is different. Law school cares about the LSATs. You're going to need an LSAT, which is the admissions test. that kind of gives you a score, and the score will let them know if you're going to be a good fit within their program or if you have sort of the aptitudes that they're looking for. Law school requires substantial repayment. It's very, very expensive. So develop a plan early on how to deal with paying loans. This can save you so many future headaches. Location tends to be a big focus because bar exams are at the state level. Taking the bar exam in Illinois and taking the bar exam in Missouri are two completely different things that might have different level state laws. Also, they may be accepted in other states. Illinois, you might be able to go to New York and practice, but you may not be able to go from Missouri to New York to practice. So understanding where you want to live in the future, what bar exams are accepted there, that should determine where you're thinking about going to school and what sort of states you want to be able to practice or take the bar exam in. So networking is very important to establish a job. Law schools are luckily very, very good at networking events. They're going to try to set up things for you to be able to go and meet established people. And this is typically how you get your first few jobs. Graduate programs do not guarantee that you pass the bar exam. So there are probably between 20 and 40%, depending on what school, of people who go to law school and never end up passing the law exam. They end up becoming legal clerks or something else. If you really just want to further research, also are slightly miserable, you really just kind of want to go to that next level, PhD programs might be for you. This is the idea of you want to be a scholar, you want to do research, and you want to further the world. Now with a PhD, you either go into academia, government, private sector. There's so many different jobs. Like, you don't have to be a professor, but obviously there's a bias sample around you. All of us chose to be professors after our PhDs. Take your time and focus on what kind of scholar you want to be, right? Econ has many, many, many fields. If this is something you want to get a PhD in, you need to know what fields work for you. Is it environment? Is it resource? Is it IO? Is it health? Is it public? Is it one of the like 20, 30 fields that we have? Which ones do you like? Because each school is going to specialize in a different field. So it's trying to find which school would match with your preferences, right? Try before you buy and stay connected with potential supervisors. Go to a conference, talk to people there, ask to sit in on a class. Many of these schools, they're going to be giving you a tuition waiver to pay for your tuition, and they're going to be giving you a stipend of between $18,000 and $35,000 a year to be able to live off of. That's a huge investment. So they want to make sure that they're getting people who they know are going to be a big fit. So ask if you can come visit, or ask if you can sit in on class, or go to a conference or recruitment fair where you get to talk to the people who are within this program. That's going to give you a lot of the information about what your potential PhD program might look like. Now, PhD programs is a long investment. It typically takes 4 to 6 years. 5's the average. That's actually kind of pushed up in COVID closer to 6, but we expect it to go back down to 5. It'll take about 5 years to finish. Your first 2 years are taking classes. After that, you are going to spend probably 2 years writing your dissertation, and then a year on the job market, where you go out and you apply everywhere. You fly to different schools, you talk to them, you fly to different companies, you talk to them to figure out where your best fit's going to be. And then in that time, in the last couple of years, you might end up teaching too, which is really great to get teaching experience. It's just lots of fun. So if you're interested in a PhD program, again, you really need to talk to your professors, because we know which ones might be a good fit for you. There's other resources out there. Let's say that you want to get connected to the profession of econ outside of the school. That's a great place to go. There's the American Economic Association. This is our main professional organization in the United States for economics. They have a great website. I think rates to join are actually very, very low for students, and they have resources for students to be able to go to conferences, to learn about data, to learn about grad schools. They have lots of videos to be able to teach you lots of different things. There's also the National Association for Business Economics, the Student Econ Association. You're already here. The Southern Econ Association, this is one that I tend to work with a lot. They do a lot of conferences in the Southeastern region. We are also in, which one are we in? I think we're kind of in between, right? So we have lots of presence in both the Southern Economic Conference, the Eastern Economic Conference, and the Western Economic Conference, because we're kind of in the middle of the US, right? So we have connections in all these places. Feel free to check those out. Those are more regionalized local conferences. They're sort of fun to be able to go meet people, and often have undergraduate research competitions, which might be able to help pay for you to be able to go somewhere, show off your stuff, go talk to people who might be hiring, go talk to people who might have positions for you within their departments. And then the Institute for Humane Studies, this is just one that I like if you're wanting resources on books, if you're wanting wanting resources on different colloquiums for undergraduate students to help prepare you for grad school. And if you're needing help being able to pay for like PhD application fees, they're a great resource too. All right, so feel free to reach out with me for any questions. I am so sorry I took up so much of your time, but I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Feel free to email me. I have a website, I have a Twitter, I have a LinkedIn. If you need anything, go ahead and connect, and I'm happy to help you out. Enjoy the rest of your day, and good luck. We're here for you.